Hello, hello. Welcome back.
Hello,
I'm Nick.
I'm Matt.
This is Nick and Matt's Everyday English Corner. Welcome back. This is episode 5. And
Yeah,
today we're going to be talking about food.
everyone's favorite topic for sure.
It's definitely up there. And today we're specifically going to focus on American food since we are both from America and lived there for most of our lives. I would consider myself fairly well versed in American cuisine. I don't know about you, but I certainly do.
Definitely pretty well versed. I like to go out and eat and I like to cook, so I've gotten to try a bunch of different things.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm just gonna come out the gate here and ask, what's your favorite food, just out of American food in general?
American food, it would definitely be a cheesesteak
Cheesesteak. How come?
because it's got steak that's cut into small pieces, it's got onions, it's got the right sauce, and it's just really delicious to eat once you're done making it.
It's a whole blend of flavor. Sounds very
Yes,
American too.
absolutely. I mean, cheese and steak together is already a good combo.
Yeah, the the main thing that comes to mind for me when I think of American food is just a whole bunch of like oily foods stacked on top of each other. I don't
It's
the
it's pretty accurate, yeah. A
yeah.
lot of oily foods are common, especially in like American restaurants.
Yeah, and the cheesesteak definitely falls into that category where you just have, well, cheese, the actual meat itself layered on top, and then all the other condiments one after the other.
Absolutely. And how about you? What's your favorite American food?
Oh, I I have a
Oh.
few, but if I had to choose, probably Texas barbecue, which
Ah,
very much keeps with the theme of layering stuff on top of each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about barbecue.
Yeah, Texas barbecue, um, albeit is very expensive, but if you get it from the right place, you can get this massive platter of meat and a whole bunch of uh, other ingredients combined with like bread on the side, and you basically stack up all this stuff on your plate into a sandwich, and it is such a beautiful blend of flavor. I I don't know how to describe it any better than that because it's something you have to taste for yourself to actually understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had the same. And it's especially fun to order at the barbecue restaurant with a group of people because they'll bring out like the gigantic platter stacked with meats and everything, and it just looks fantastic.
Yeah, this is one of the few cases where the presentation of an American dish is absolutely exquisite. The way the meat is laid out and the way you have the bread on the side and then the other condiments stacked up just waiting for you to create your masterpiece that is your meat sandwich.
Meat
Oh,
sandwich is about right. Yeah.
yeah. I it's definitely one of the things I miss about America is just having these massive plates of meat and stuff that goes so well together.
Absolutely. I think the food that I ate the most frequently was hot wings. Especially like they use buffalo sauce or has some sort of hot spice. That was usually my like once a week I have to eat sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys had this out in uh, the country, but
Mm.
in the city we had this restaurant called Wingstop, and
Oh yes,
yeah, did you guys have that as well?
we did. They were actually considered subpar though.
Really?
Um, but to say there's a lot of small wing restaurants in North Carolina, so the bigger chains don't actually stand a chance against them.
Ah, yeah, because that that's actually something that I just remembered now is out in the country. There's a whole bunch of those like mom and pop shops that are run by like a family, and that is like the authentic American food. That is like best in the country levels of quality.
Absolutely. There can be a bit harder to find, but once you find one and they make the food you like, you absolutely have one of the best meals of your life.
Yeah, and I have a story about a few of those that I'll get to in a minute. But kind of going back to the Buffalo Wing story, um, we would always order from Wingstop if we ever wanted wings, and they would just load us up with who knows how many tens of wings. You could pick the sauce that you wanted. I think we would usually pick stuff like lemon parmesan and just a
Mm,
whole bunch of garlic sprinkled on top. And that is, oh, I still remember the taste as if it were yesterday.
absolutely. That's a big one with some places is you get to mix different flavors. I believe my favorite was mango and habanero mixed together, which is a weird combo, but it worked very good.
No, I've had that too, and that is delicious. The I really I just thought about it now, but America really does that a lot where on their menus there's like whole who knows how many options of all these flavors that you can choose from to specifically tailor the kind of base food that they're serving to your specific tastes.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of a normal thing in a lot of American restaurants is you can look at a menu and you can change something on the menu to suit you. You can make a special request. And often it's just totally okay in any restaurant in America. And that's something that goes to like, especially if you're a regular at a restaurant, you're often end up ordering something that's not on the menu, but is specifically just for you.
Yeah, especially at those places that are run by, well, a single family or a very small staff of people. They'll usually just ask you, "Oh, do you want the usual?" And they'll instantly know what you want. You know what you want because you go there so much, and you you just you have exactly what you want within a few minutes. And of
Oh,
course, it's
absolutely.
delicious. Yeah.
Now, there's one food that we do have to talk about, especially if we're talking about America food, and that's hamburgers.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, especially from being a teacher in Japan, our students ask us all the time about American food, and they always bring up hamburgers because let's be honest, it is pretty much the stereotypical American food, albeit with very good reason.
Absolutely. It's always funny because America did not invent the hamburger, but it does own the hamburger.
Yeah, I would say while America did not create the hamburger, they definitely perfected it. They pushed the
Absolutely.
hamburger as far as we could humanly push the quality and taste of that particular food to its utmost limit. and I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that America probably has the maybe not the best hamburgers in the world, but they are certainly world class.
Absolutely. There's a lot of big restaurant chains that serve amazing hamburgers. I think the most popular one, I believe, is Red Robin. What do you think?
Well, the most famous is obviously probably the big chains like
Mm,
McDonald's and Burger King. Now, I certainly remember Red Robin, and I would go there all the time when I was a kid.
mm.
Absolutely loved it. I was 100% always ordering hamburgers and those cheese sticks that you would
Ah,
dip in.
yeah,
Oh, I forgot what the sauce was, but that is like the food that I think of when I think of what I ate when I was a kid, or when I would go out to eat when I was a kid. That is 100% what I think all the time. Red Robin burgers and cheese sticks.
and that's a dream. And it's also one of the most unhealthy thing for you that you can think of. It's fried cheese with hamburgers. But even if you take about 10 minutes off your life, it's worth it.
Yeah, and there's so many more famous burger chains that all make these, albeit very unhealthy burgers, differently. Like in California, we had these chains like In and Out, Five Guys, these restaurants that you don't really see in other parts of the country. But if you ask someone living on the West Coast what their favorite burger shop is, you would most likely hear one of those answers, because the way they make their hamburgers is completely different from the other chains. And as someone who would eat at these restaurants at least once a month, I can attest to their quality.
Absolutely. And if you want to talk about famous burger places, there is one that's caught on the news and has gotten media coverage in America, and it has the apt name called Heart Attack Grill. Have you heard of that one before?
Yeah, it's in Las Vegas, right?
It's in Las Vegas, and they're well known for having the biggest burgers in the world. I believe their biggest burger has about 10,000 calories in it.
That's
So
crazy.
it's the biggest burger in the world, yeah.
That is absolutely insane. And I I've never been there personally, but I've heard about their sizes. Have you ever been to Heart Attack Grill before?
So when I went to Las Vegas, it was before they were opened, but I
Uh,
would absolutely love the chance to go at least once.
I haven't seen too much about them, but I have heard that they're like the size of their burgers is it's not physically possible to eat
No.
that in a single
Hmm.
bite. Like you physically cannot take a bite out of the burger because of how high the actual food is stacked, or how much is actually stacked up. It looks like a Jenga tower.
Absolutely. I believe, yeah, some of them have like 5 or 6 burger patties on them, so it's impossible to actually eat it normally.
Yeah, that is actually a very common theme in American food, or just America in general, is that when compared to the rest of the world, everything is just huge. But this goes doubly so at fast food places and restaurants in general, where the size of the food, particularly burgers, pizza, and
Mm,
drinks, are just double the size of anywhere else in the world.
absolutely. Yeah, the biggest one I see is that people in Japan say they're surprised at the big drink sizes. Um, as well as the fact that they can drink it at a restaurant and then refill it at no cost.
Oh yeah, refills are just not a thing here in Japan. Well, they are, but you gotta pay money. It's not a
Yeah,
lot of
you're buying
money.
another drink.
Yeah, it's like 100 yen, 150 yen, which is well a dollar. But in America, when it comes to consuming the food that you pay for, oh, oh, they will load you up with
Yeah,
the food and drinks too.
I've seen several people like go to a restaurant, they eat and talk, and they'll have a soda to drink, and they'll have that same soda refilled like three, four times during the time that they're there, and there's just no extra cost to it at all.
Yeah, the main complaint I hear about American restaurants, and rightfully so, is the tipping culture, where you have to provide the service worker a small percentage of the price of the meal and the tax included. You have to add that on top of your bill and pay it as like a service fee. But the great upside about American restaurants is the proportions of the food and the amount that you can drink are so huge that a lot of the times you end up taking the meal from the restaurant back to your house because you couldn't finish it.
Yes, and that's considered very normal in America. They have to-go boxes that are actually offered to you the moment they see any food left over. One big thing I have to mention for anyone interested in going to America, you do tip when you eat at a restaurant. The general rule is 10% if you were not really happy, 15% if it was normal, and 20% if everything was good. You don't have to follow it, nor do you have to tip, but that's generally how people in America think of the when how much they're supposed to tip.
Yeah, and the tipping culture definitely catches a lot of people off guard, especially in Japan, where service is just expected because that's the culture. Whereas in America, servers are rewarded proportionally based on the quality of their service.
Yes.
But the tipping culture aside, just the amount that you can eat at American restaurants a lot of the times actually makes it worth the price, I find, because you truly can't imagine just how big some of these proportions are until you actually go to America and see the dish in front of your own eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, American food can be expensive, but at the same time, they do give you plenty enough to fill up your belly, and also take home with you.
Yeah, I cannot recall walking out of an American restaurant not feeling like my stomach was about to burst because I swear the the amount on your plate it's always more than what you see in the menu. At least that's just my personal experience, but I might
I feel the same way.
yeah. In fact,
There's a saying in English that your eyes are bigger than your stomach. And that's especially true when you're looking at any American menu because they will give you more food than you think that they're going to.
yeah, and I remember at a lot of these, especially fast food places, a lot of the times they like deliberately add more food into your meal, maybe as like a gesture of goodwill. Um, this is particularly true at some of those aforementioned burger places like In N Out where you would see them preparing the meal and when you look and see the amount of fries that they're putting in the bag, it's insane because you ordered a medium amount, but an American medium is extra large in basically every other country in the world. So you get way more than what you pay for in some cases.
Absolutely. And that's kind of how a lot of restaurants build their reputation, they make money, is they make absolutely sure that you're not leaving hungry.
And that is something that I kind of I didn't struggle with, but when I came to Japan, I don't really leave restaurants with that same feeling of absolute fullness. I feel leaving Japanese restaurants that I ate just the perfect amount, that the meal was perfectly crafted to leave me about 80 to 85% full, which by no means is a bad thing. If anything, it's probably healthier for your body. But that's just one of the big differences, I think, between Japanese and American food culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a different mindset where in Japan you want to eat to, not be hungry anymore. In America, you want to eat until you absolutely cannot eat anymore, or at least until you have that very full feeling.
Yeah, and in America, I feel like there's a lot of sense that you want to kind of get your money's worth for what you pay for. So you a lot of people end up eating a lot more than they can actually handle because they feel like that's a better they feel like they're getting what they paid for by eating more despite the fact that they are very much physically full, and sometimes it does physically hurt to eat, but they just want to try and get what they deem is good value.
Absolutely. They do want to make sure that by the time they finish their meal, that their money was worth what they paid for.
Yeah, and that's a very American way of thinking, but I do feel that having adapted to Japanese food culture, I do appreciate the differences in the culture.
Absolutely. It's much better for my health not to fill myself up full every time.
Yeah, because I think the one thing we can agree on is that a lot of American food is, well, for lack of a better term, not the healthiest on the planet. Um, as we all know, uh, obesity is a big social issue in America because a lot of American food is not made with the intent of being healthy. It is meant to be addicting and to keep you eating.
Absolutely. And it's a lot about what ingredients go into the food to keep you eating. I believe if I remember, Japan is less than 5% in obesity rate, and I believe America is about 40%. So just from those stats alone, you can see a massive difference.
Yeah, it's something that unfortunately a lot of companies actually benefit from because the ingredients that they use to make their food a lot of the times, like I said earlier, keep people eating, and they're cheap to make too. So it's not meant to be healthy, it's meant to be appetizing.
Absolutely. And especially in like burger restaurants and things like that, those meals are dedicated to having you order as much as possible, as frequently as possible. So there is that kind of difference in restaurant culture.
But the one thing we can agree on is when eaten in moderation, oh my goodness, good American food is it's good.
It's definitely perfect for a vacation. If you go to America on a vacation and you're happy to eat as much as you want and then go home, then you don't have to worry about getting addicted.
Yeah, just make sure you got a good plan to either cut back on the calories or have a very good exercise regimen lined up when you do get back.
Absolutely. Make sure that you don't gain too much weight.
Yeah. The one final thing that I wanted to mention before we end off today's episode is since we've been living in Japan for a little over half a year now, and we've gotten so used to Japanese food, you and I in particular sometimes kind of get that craving to eat American food, um, which
Oh, absolutely.
which is interesting because Japan, well, in my opinion, has some of, if not the best food in the world. But when you get used to something and you haven't had something else for a while, you do get the craving to eat it again, especially the food from your home country, which is
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, which is why there we go to a lot of these American restaurants in our town, even though they aren't up to that same quality that we have in America. It still scratches that itch to actually eat American food. I feel like.
Yes. It's especially good to eat something that I like in America but can't really find in Japan often. So at least I get that feeling that I ate something that I'm used to. So it's really nice to go out and do that every so often.
But like we said earlier, the proportions in Japan are so small. The pizzas here are puny, and the burgers they scratch the itch, but it good American burgers really are something I miss, and will probably be the first thing I eat if I end up going back to America at some point.
Same, yes. I think I want to eat a nice burger back in America, have some good chicken wings, and eat some fried cheese.
Yeah,
Um, I believe that would be the plan. Uh, in Japan, all of those things are fairly difficult to find.
yeah. Um, for me, it would be burgers. Definitely pizza, like the big, the
Oh, yeah.
massive, those massive New York style pies.
Yes.
Definitely buffalo wings, and yeah, something that I can just dip, like a nice fatty dip, and that would be the culinary American experience. And I would feel as though I had gotten my fill of American food during my visit.
Absolutely. Get the visit done and then go back to the healthy Japanese food.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I love Japanese food. I would not give it up for the world, but you do end up missing your home country's food from time to time, and I think that's perfectly natural.
Oh, yeah. You grew up with it as a child up to an adult, so not having access to those same tastes when you want them, you definitely are going to end up missing it.
For sure, for sure. And we are planning to make an episode in the near future about Japanese food as well. I just figured since we've basically been hyping up Japan nonstop for the past couple of episodes here, it would be nice to finally talk about our own home country for once.
Absolutely. It always feels good to talk about the things that I like. And especially when it comes to unhealthy but delicious American food, I can give a lot of ideas for what I want to eat and what I want to share.
Amen to that. And I feel like we could probably talk for hours about this here, but seeing as though we're about to hit 30 minutes, it would probably be a good idea to call things
Absolutely.
here, but yeah, I had an absolute blast talking about this. Um, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning
Absolutely.
in.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Check back next week for the new episode. And this has been Nick and Matt's Everyday English Corner, episode 5, American Food. See you in the next one.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye bye.